All right, here we are back for part 3 of the Sci-Fi HUD tutorial built with Blender geometry nodes. This one is going to be a little bit more complex. It's going to be focused on the sci-fi cradle planet grid looking thing. It does require a little bit of setup. You're going to need an image texture off the NASA website. I will leave a link in the description for that. And as always, I will leave a screenshot with the full node setup, so if you just want to copy my settings, feel free. I will leave that here and at the end of the video as well. And then if you want to follow the tutorial, let's jump into Blender. We've got a new project here. We're going to delete everything, go into geometry nodes, add in the default cube, clean up the workspace, whoops, and add in a new system. Alright, we're going to start this out pretty much the same as last time. We're going to add in a curved line, actually exactly the same as last time. We are going to zero out the Z, and we're going to go in -1 since we're going to the left side this time. We will resample that curve 5 times, and we will do a set position node. Again, using the endpoint selection. 0 on the end size and 4 on the start size, and then we can go positive 0.5 in the Y and negative 0.5 on the X. Oops, negative 0.5 on the X. Perfect. Now we can give our curve some geometry, so curve to mesh. For the profile, we'll use a curved line. We need to zero out the z-axis so you don't get that strange triangle, and instead go 0.01 in the x-axis. That gives us a nice line here. Alright, we'll set up the trim curve as well right now so that we can start with the animation. This one's going to go from the start of 0 all the way to 1, and that'll animate the line disappearing. We need to add a math node set to add, zero out the second value, and we're going to reverse it by putting it into a map range node, setting the toMin value to 1 and the toMax value to 0. Now, if we go into the add value or into the add node, if you go to 0, it'll have disappeared. If you go all the way to 1, it will have fully reappeared. Perfect. Let's add a little frame around this add node and call it animation controller. Alright, now we need to instance some things on this line here. So instance on points. We also need to join all of this back together, so we'll do a join geometry at the very end here and bring that instance on points in. The thing that we'll be instancing is an arc primitive. That instances it on every point, so let's fix that real quick here by using an equals node and setting that as an index equals 0, or the first index, which is this one here. Let's resize this arc to like 0.43. Change the starting angle so that it's correct, and change the sweep so that it's just about a half a circle. What's that, 180? Perfect. Let's change that sweep back. Alright. Now let's give this arc some geometry as well, so curve to mesh. For the curve profile, we'll again use a curved line, zeroing out the z and 0.01 on the x-axis. Let's add a transform node so that we can translate that over by negative 0.43, and that'll line it up with the end of the curve here, or end of this line. Let's give it a little bit of resolution because it doesn't look great. There we go. Alright, let's go and give this some animation as well. So to do this, we're going to use another trim curve. This one's a little bit different, so if you look, it'll either go from the bottom up or from the top down, and I want it to go from the center both ways. So to do this, we are going to pull out two map range nodes. Set this one from 1 to 0 and leave the other one at 0 to 1. And then drag out that controller value again here. So now, oops, if we go 0, it's all the way out, and 1, it's all the way in, so we have an issue here. Perhaps we can swap these. Alright, there we go. So now if we're at 1, it's all the way out. If we're at 0, it's all the way gone. There we go. Move those over. Alright, now let's work on the planet as well as the grid. We're going to need another instance on point, so we can press Control-Shift-D and just drag that connected to everything, and that'll include our index reference here, which I will press Control-J and name just so that we have that there. Okay. So for this one, which we should also connect up to the join geometry at the end here, we're going to need a UV sphere. And actually, I'm going to just do this by itself. So let's press Control-Shift-Click, and that will give us a viewer node on it. Alright, so for this we need considerably more geometry, so I'm going to go 1024 on the segments and 512 on the rings. We're going to add in a delete geometry node here, set that to faces, and then for the selection, this is where we're going to use that image texture that we downloaded from the NASA website. So if I go here, I've actually already loaded it into this project. We have it pop up here. It is looks like it's mirroring, and it also needs the UV map from our sphere. And there we go. Beautiful. All right, and so we're gonna add in a transform node on this. Change it to 90 so that it's in the right orientation with the South Pole at the south there. And then we will also control the, let me just think about this here, that we can do the spinning and we'll rotate it after the fact. So yeah, let me put in a combine XYZ with a scene time node there. Then we will do a join geometry here. And out of this, we will do another UV sphere. Let's reset this one. We don't need nearly as many segments. In fact, we'd need the basic one. We're going to go mesh to curve. And then curve to mesh so that we get the wireframe mode. For the profile curve, we're actually going to use a curve circle this time because the curved line does not work on this. We can set this very small to like 0.0025. And then let's marry that up with the other one. And now we have this mesh kind of going over the outline of the continents. Now one thing I'm noticing is these veins kind of going through here. I'm not a huge fan of that. So I'm going to use a color ramp to kind of fill those in there. Perfect. All right, beautiful. And also this is going to be way too big. We need to set it closer to what we have the arc set to, which was 0.43. So let's go 0.4 so it's slightly smaller than it. 0.4. And I actually also like to set the map just slightly bigger so that it's outside of the mesh there, or the wireframe. Cool. All right, now we can take this join geometry, remove the viewer node, we don't need it, and we can add this into oops, I have that still there. I need to add that to this bottom one there. Perfect. Now if we go into overhead view, it's just about right, but it's in the wrong position. So we need to add in a transform. Do a minus 0.43 so that we have it there. Let's see, rotate it here 90 degrees so that it's oriented the right way, with the south pole at the bottom here, north pole at the top there, and then we can see on the z-axis we can slightly shift it so that it matches the arc here. Perfect. Alright, so now this comes out and spins. Beautiful. Now the last thing is we need to control deleting all of this. So here, after the join, we're going to put in a delete geometry, which will be everything. For the selection, we're going to use a gradient. There we have half of it. And to be able to control this, we need to add in a math node afterwards, which will give us control of it there. But it's currently going the wrong way, so we need to add in another math node, multiply by -1. Now it's going out the right way. Cool. Alright, now we need to do the same thing here. Pull out our animation control and use that as the value. Let's see, currently it looks like it's backwards, so we need to map range it as well from 1 to 0. But it's not all the way out there. And this is at 2. So what do we have? We have an issue going on here. So it looks like this actually needs to go to -1. Yeah. There we go. So if we're at 0, it's gone. We come up, and at 1, it appears. Okay, cool. But it kind of appears a little bit before the arc, and I'd like it to appear kind of with the arc. So let's see. Let's take this controller and just add in another math node and divide it by 2. Let's see if that doesn't help this a little bit here. No, it did not at all. Oh, because that was the wrong node, that's why. Let's put it into that one. There we go. Now, yeah, it kind of comes with the arc. So the arc appears, then it appears. It's pretty good. Cool. Alright, so you have your control here for animation. It'll disappear at 0 and fully appear at 1. Alright, I'm sorry, at 2 for this. It needs to go all the way to 2 for the globe to fully appear. And then at the end, we'll set a material like always. Set material, go in, new, call this glow. Set it to a nice color. Oh, I'm sorry. Actually, I gotta set the color here. And maybe 5. Set your material to glow. Turn on bloom. Go in. Let's make the background black. There we go. And if we move the animation, disappears and appears. Alright, as always, I will leave the full node tree in a screenshot right here and in the beginning. Feel free to copy my settings. Hopefully you can find some use for this in your own projects. And anyways, thanks for tuning in. I will get to the next one shortly.